Welcome to Bitcoin, an introduction. This module is intended to give you an overview of Bitcoin and to touch on some of the big questions that are frequently asked. What is Bitcoin? Where does it come from? How do I get it? How do I use it? And is it secure? What is Bitcoin? Although Bitcoin today appears to be more of a digital gold, Bitcoin was designed to be a digital cash system. It is not money that you can touch or feel. It only exists in the cloud. Bitcoin is decentralized. This means that it is not controlled by a government, a bank, an institution, or an individual. Bitcoin is controlled by its protocol. That's right, computer code. The code is designed to do several things very well. Firstly, the code creates the digital currency. It validates all transactions made using the digital currency. It creates a public ledger that is immutable, meaning that the records cannot change. This record is maintained in a public ledger, also known as the blockchain. Finally, the protocol is responsible for replicating the ledger around the globe on thousands and thousands of computers, creating a truly decentralized system. Let's take a look at how that works. The Genesis block. The first block in Bitcoin's blockchain is known as the Genesis block. Now you can think of a block as a digital container that holds freshly minted Bitcoins. In this case, 50 new Bitcoins. This block would have been created by the protocol. The protocol itself? Well, that was the creation of Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is. It could be an individual, it could be a group of individuals. We simply don't know. What we do know is that the blockchain technology is a marvelous innovation. Now, these first 50 Bitcoins would have been awarded to Satoshi Nakamoto. Why? Because he invested the time and resources to add this block to the blockchain. This is the way that the protocol incents people to invest time and resources to maintain the network. They are paid in Bitcoin. Now, with this one block on Satoshi's computer, it doesn't make for a decentralized system. So what he would have to do is to convince others to install the protocol on their computers and replicate the blockchain around the globe. When the protocol is installed on a computer and the computer is configured as a full node, the first thing that it does is it searches the internet for other full nodes and replicates the blockchain. This happens over and over again until the entire globe is covered with computers that are running the protocol and storing a copy of the blockchain. Now we have a truly decentralized system. Now the protocol can move on to the task of creating new Bitcoins. The way it does this is through a competition. All of the nodes that you see here on the globe, they are also referred to as miners, and this is due to a function that they perform. The function of mining includes the creation of new Bitcoins. And here's how it works. On average, every 10 minutes, the protocol will present each miner with a new block. And remember that the block has 50 new Bitcoins in it. Now, these 50 Bitcoins are represented as a transaction. The transaction basically says this: award these 50 Bitcoins to the miner who wins the competition. So although every miner has what's called the Coinbase transaction in their block, only one miner will actually win the 50 new Bitcoins. And then the competition starts all over again to see who's going to win the next time around. So the miners are presented with the block, and they're also presented with a very difficult mathematical question, which they have to solve. This question is referred to as the proof of work, and it takes the network on average 10 minutes before someone comes up with an answer. But eventually, someone will say, I've got the answer. Now, announcing that you have the answer is not enough to award you the 50 new Bitcoins. First, you have to have that validated. So what that miner will do is to send the response or the answer to all the other miners on the network so that they can vote. Now, this vote requires a 51% consensus before that miner is awarded the block reward of 50 bitcoins. As soon as 51% of the network says yes, you did correctly answer the question, then everyone else replicates that new block on their blockchain. On average, this happens every 10 minutes. Another miner will say, I've got the solution, share their answer with all of the other nodes on the network, and once we have a 51% consensus, the new block is added to the network. Now at this point, you're probably wondering, if the competition relies on solving a very difficult mathematical problem, why don't I just get an ultra super powerful computer and win the competition every time? Well, it's not quite that simple. Mining Bitcoin requires you to use a very specific type of computer. It's an application-specific computer, designed solely for mining Bitcoin. And as you guessed, most miners are pretty much using the best available equipment. So the competitive edge is really not there. Now, another thing to note is that this rewarding of 50 Bitcoins for every block that's added every 10 minutes does not continue indefinitely. Every 4 years, their block reward is halved. So it started at 50 Bitcoins per block. 4 years later, it was down to 25 Bitcoins. Today, we stand at 12.5 Bitcoins for every new block that is added to the network. Over time, the network becomes more powerful as computers on the network are upgraded. This results in the network being able to solve the difficulty problem in less than 10 minutes. And this can be problematic, as the network will be adding Bitcoins to the ecosystem at a faster rate than was anticipated by the protocol. This problem is resolved by the protocol conducting a test every 2 weeks. The protocol tests to see just how fast the network is solving the problem. If it finds that the network is solving the problem in less than 10 minutes, it increases the difficulty. As a result, the protocol resumes resolving the problem on average every 10 minutes. Now, the inverse happens as well. From time to time, computers are taken off the network. Perhaps some of the miners choose to mine another crypto asset. As a result, the total power of the network, or the hash power, is reduced, and the network takes longer than 10 minutes to solve the problem. When this is detected by the protocol eases the difficulty to ensure that the network stays on track and mines a new block on average every 10 minutes. As I previously mentioned, the amount of Bitcoins that are awarded for each new block that is added to the blockchain is cut in half every 4 years. As it stands today, the block reward is 12.5 Bitcoins. That amounts to roughly $200,000 US. By the year 2140, we will have mined all of the Bitcoins that there are to mine. That is a total of 21 million Bitcoins. To date, we have mined 16.7 million Bitcoins. Bitcoin miners are paid in Bitcoin. However, their landlord or their utility may not be prepared to accept payment in Bitcoin. The miners will have to find a place where they can exchange their Bitcoins for fiat currency and pay their bills. Welcome to the Bitcoin Exchange. The Bitcoin Exchange is a place that brings buyer and seller together to trade in Bitcoin. When you open an account with a Bitcoin exchange, expect to be required to provide KYC, or Know Your Client, information. This would include government-issued photo ID and other information to ensure that the exchange knows who they're dealing with. Once your exchange account is established, you can transfer money from your bank to your exchange account and purchase Bitcoin on the open market. If you are the holder of Bitcoins, you can sell those Bitcoins on the exchange for fiat currency, which you can then send back to your bank account. With Bitcoins in your Bitcoin exchange account, you can also send Bitcoins to your smartphone. You would install an app known as a wallet. And with a Bitcoin wallet, you can receive Bitcoins on your smartphone, and now you're ready for spending. Bitcoin transactions can be done in person or remotely. Whether you attend a brick and mortar store that accepts Bitcoin or shop online, When it's time to check out, you will be presented with a QR code. Your smartphone would simply scan the code and then display for you the amount of the payment. When you accept the payment, the conversion is handled by the software. It converts the local currency into Bitcoin and sends the right amount of Bitcoin to the vendor. Likewise, you can send money to a friend. If you are in close physical proximity to that friend, you can simply scan their phone and send them money. If that friend is on the other side of the world, they would send you their Bitcoin address, and you would simply send money to that address, and they would receive it on their smartphone wallet. When you transact in Bitcoin, transactions are also sent to the unconfirmed transaction pool. Now, you may recall that Bitcoin miners receive 12.5 Bitcoins for every block that they add to the chain. That's how they get paid. You also may recall that every 4 years, that number is cut in half until we arrive at 21 million Bitcoins. And the question that should come to mind is, well, how do the miners get paid once there's no more block reward? Well, miners are not only paid by receiving block reward, they're also paid transaction fees. Miners are responsible for validating transactions on the network. They do this by taking transactions out of the unconfirmed transaction pool, adding it to the block, and validating those transactions. So when they're adding a new block to the blockchain, not only are they adding the newly minted 12.5 Bitcoins, they're also adding all the transactions that are in the block. The miner is rewarded with the block reward and all of the transaction fees associated with the transactions that they put into their block. To give you a sense of just how much a Bitcoin miner is rewarded for adding a new block to the blockchain, let's take a look at a recently added block. To do this, I'm going to switch over to CoinDance. CoinDance is a very popular website that's used for statistics on the Bitcoin blockchain. Let's take a look at this block right here. As I scroll down, you'll see that the block reward is about $181,000. The transaction fees amount to about $70,000 for a grand total of roughly $300,000 US. Not a bad payday. Keep in mind that the network pays these fees out to miners on average every 10 minutes. We can spend an entire session on the topic of cryptocurrency wallets. They are that important. I strongly urge everyone to conduct their own research before choosing a wallet app. Now, there are many types of wallets: brain wallets, paper wallets, cold storage wallets, desktop wallets, wallets that we store in the cloud. I'm going to be focusing on the mobile wallet, the wallet that we store on our smartphones. Now, when we use the term wallet, it gives the impression that we're installing software to store our Bitcoins for us. Nothing could be further from the truth. All Bitcoins are stored in the public ledger, the blockchain, and they're stored in the form of transactions. To simplify, if you own 1 Bitcoin, there will be a transaction in the public ledger that says 1 Bitcoin is assigned to a Bitcoin address that is controlled by you, or more precisely, controlled by a private encryption key stored in your Bitcoin wallet. So as you see, your Bitcoin wallet stores private encryption keys that unlock value in the public ledger. Now, it is vitally important that you back up your private key. Lose your key, lose your Bitcoins. For privacy, your Bitcoin wallet app will create a new address or bank account number for every new transaction. As a result, the public ledger will contain multiple addresses that store value, all of which are controlled by your private key. When you launch the Bitcoin wallet app, the app reaches out to the network and searches for addresses that are controlled by your private key. It then accumulates the total value of all of those addresses and brings it back to your screen to display for you the amount of value that is stored in your wallet. This concludes the training module. Thank you for watching.